Good morning, welcome back to Part 2 Garden. It's been almost 2 weeks since the last video, and there is a lot going on in the garden. We've been having some really hot weather. It's been pretty dry. I had to irrigate the garden yesterday, but there's a lot to go over, and I will try to make this as quick as possible. It's going to be like rapid fire. So first plant here is Hydrangea quercifolia. This is Sykes dwarf. Been here for 7 years now, 6 years, and it's about 6 feet tall. And you can't say that's a dwarf plant anymore, but dwarf is based on how quickly something grows. So this one grows maybe like 5-6 inches a year compared to most other larger plants that will grow quickly, especially with oak leaf hydrangeas. But yeah, the Sykes dwarf is really nice. It's got a lot of blooms, and the pollinators absolutely love this plant. It is June and almost into July, so hydrangeas are really starting to come into peak here. So this little pink arborescens here is Mini Malvet. And I do have a bunch of hydrangea species that aren't even close to blooming yet, so we're going to see them for quite a while. This is a Pycnanthemum, and this is Pycnanthemum incanum. I've always liked the silvery foliage on it, and the flowers have a little pink coloration to them. It is quite a, I wouldn't say it's a spreader as bad as some of the other Pycnanthemums, but it is a really, really larger massing. It does spread a little bit, but easy to maintain. And down here is a little dwarf Pycnanthemum, and this is, I believe it's Tenuifolium, and the cultivar is Campbell's Carpet. Got this nice little feathery, fine foliage. Now the Angelica daherica that we've been kind of documenting is finally starting to put its flowers out up there. So flowers are just starting. Now that we're in summer, officially, the daylilies are going to start opening. So this is Blackthorn. Then I have this new lobelia that I planted this year. This has one of those really long names. It's a Starship Scarlet bronze leaf. I wouldn't say the leaf is bronze anymore. When it first emerged, it was darker red, like a bronze. But yeah, it's my first lobelia to flower this year. So we'll see if it's a true perennial. A lot of times these red foliage ones don't tend to last. The Veronicastrum lavender towers. My big concern with this plant is always that it tends to flop over once we get a heavy rain. As you can see, some of the flowers are laying low. This is Kniphofia pineapple popsicle. It's a little shorter this year. This got moved back when we put in the bog garden. So I'm more hoping it just put on energy for the roots, and flowers are a little stunted. The Filipendula rubra venusta. There's a little Hemerocallis daylily hiding back here. This is Little Gray Pet. Then I have this little dwarf Sanguisorba down here with variegated foliage. This has been a really, really nice addition to the garden. This is Sanguisorba Little Angel. hydrangea on the corner here. This is Hydrangea radiata. Some places will list it as a subspecies of arborescens, but this one here is Invincibelle lace. A lot of times with the radiata, they have a little bit of like a silver coloration to the undersides. This one's not very prominent. Got this Ligularia chinensis, or it might be even japonica, Chinese dragon. And the foliage is my favorite part of this plant, that deep cut leaf on that. But then, you know, you do have some flowers. You can see the Sykes-dwarf again in the background there. And then there's other Hydrangea arborescens here, which got like another cut foliage to it. That's kind of why I grow this one. The flowers aren't anything spectacular, but this is Green Dragon. It's a nice plant. The Hosta Blue Mouse ears. I would say this is probably my favorite of all the dwarf blue hostas. It seems to be the most reliable, and it always puts on a good show, always holds its blue color pretty well, and it's very easily found now out in the trade, so it's been around for quite a while. So this is a big giant mop head, basically form of arborescens. You will get some pollinator action on them, but it's harder for the pollinators to actually get into the fertile flowers. But this one here is Incrediball. Height's about 5 feet, and I will cut this to the ground every late winter, early spring. It's very sturdy, so not a big flopper, way better than Annabelle. And then I have this really cool perennial over top here. This is Datisca cannabina. This will easily hit about 15 feet tall this year. So you can see the flowers, these long panicles, very white, sort of yellowish color. Cool plant to try out if you want to do some larger perennials in like a part shade garden. Now moving on to my favorite of all the Hydrangea asperas, and easily the best one on the market. This is Haas Halo. As I mentioned, the pollinators really like to go after these lace cap types. You can see all the fertile flowers, which are all those tiny things in the middle, surrounded by the big white bracts on the outside, the infertils. So as soon as the sun hits this later, you're going to have bees all over this thing. Then there's a double flowered form on the other side of the pond, which really isn't good for pollinators, but it's very attractive. This is Hayes Starburst. Got this Nepeta, which is Subsessilis, and the cultivar is Prelude. This has been blooming now for I would say close to 2 months, and every time I do one of these videos I just keep walking by it and forget to talk about it. So yeah, it's a really long blooming Nepeta. Another Sanguisorba. This is Pacific Pewter. Nice frilly flowers. It's got the really nice blue-green foliage. All the Sanguisorbas really want moist soil. They really don't like dry. So if you're going to plant them in your garden, you want to make sure you have some good moisture, or you're going to be watering it to keep it looking good. Got a nice clump of Lilium golden stargazer here. There's probably, I don't know, almost 100 if not more flower buds on this clump. This large Hemerocallis here. This is red suspenders. Probably my second favorite in the garden. Got this really cool Berkheya purpurea. Real spiky, spiny. You know, if you have any like rodent deer problems, rabbits, they're not going to touch this thing. I don't even want to touch this thing. But really, really cool plant. Prefers full sun and definitely wants some good drainage, drier soil. The Verbascum Christos Yellow Lightning with the Pennisetum in the back. Now, walking out in the garden yesterday, I could smell something stinking, almost like something was dead out here. And of course, what that means is we have another aroid that's blooming. So down here, there's our stinky flower. And that is Sauromatum giganteum. This big leaf here, you know, looks like an elephant ear leaf. That leaf will get, you know, it's like 2-3 foot tall and huge. So really cool aroid if you get your hands on it. I had thought I lost it this year because the original mother bulb had rotted over the winter, and I found it in the spring all mushy, and I didn't think I had any offsets, and next thing you know, here's one offset coming up. We have the Ruellia, the hardy petunia. Got this really cool biennial in the garden. This is Tragopogon crocifolius. Now, most people will consider Tragopogon to be a weed. I actually really like it, and I just kind of let it seed around, and then I pull it where I don't want it. But there you can see the really big seed heads on it, which is really cool. It's like giant dandelions. But yeah, I just pull them as I don't want them, and it's been a really, really nice little addition. You got the Digitalis Fapsii, kind of poking through the Budalilla Blonde Ambition. We got our first Echinops really starting to show some color back here. This is Vetch's Blue. And there's this really nice Lilium right here. This is Hotel California. That blue with the orange, it's always a good combination. Another Veronicastrum. This is my favorite one I have in the garden. I think the color is spectacular. It doesn't really flop. And this is Fascination. As you can see, it has fasciated flower heads, hence the name Fascination. But yeah, the color is really nice, especially off that white Persicaria polymorpha. Here we have an Arameris Cleopatra. This is a bulb, likes drainage, so I put on a little mound up here, and it does really well for me. This is probably the 4th or 5th year I've had it, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think there's 6 flower stalks back there. Agastache serpentine right here, this little purple. And I think we'll finish with this plant right here. This is what used to be called Platycrater arguta, and the cultivar is Honeymoon. So what's special about this cultivar is the flowers are about 3 times the size of the normal species. So this was a selection made from Ed and Taylor up at Isima, and this is easily the best flowering year I'm going to have on this thing. If we get cold snaps in the winter, a lot of times the old growth dies off, which means I won't get good flower production out of it. But yeah, 3 times the size. This is Honeymoon again. Definitely worth checking out. The new name for this now is they moved it just into Hydrangea, because it is a hydrangea family, so it's Hydrangea platyarguta. So little known, underknown shrub for, I would say, definitely wants afternoon sun protection. And yeah, so I think that's going to be our tour for today. That was pretty quick, a lot of different plants. Yeah, feel free to leave comments. If you see something at a certain point in the video, you can put a timestamp on it, and I'll try to figure out what you're asking about, because you know, I see this stuff all the time, so some things don't always catch my eye. But yeah, give me a like, give me a subscribe if you want me to keep making more content, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you in a couple days, because now that we're getting into the heat of summer, a lot of things are really going to start popping.